Thank you all for coming out to the Board of Elections for Registration's board meeting. I'll ask that everyone at the table please silence your phones. And for anyone that's joining us on by video, please mute yourselves. Thank you very much. I'd like to have a motion from one of our board members to approve the agenda, please. All right, so it's been properly moved in second. Let's take the vote. All in favor, say aye. Thank you. All right, thank you for approval of the agenda. Next, we'd like to approve the minutes from the September 14th, 2023 meeting. Okay. All right, so it's been properly moved in second that we approve the minutes of September 14th meeting. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you very much. So Director Kidd, do you have any citizen comments?
We had no citizens report to make comments at this meeting. Chair.
Thank you. Ms. Green, do we have any felon hearings?
No felon hearings. I did 63 felons came across the dashboard this month, but no responses to those, so no hearings.
Okay. So now we'd like to have our office operations report.
Office operations report, I will begin. On September the 14th, we met with the school board to discuss a polling location change to Chapel Hill High School from what was previously Chapel Hill Church, or the Church of Chapel Hill. The school board itself met on October the 3rd to consider the proposal and has signed off on the intergovernmental agreement packet before you. You all should have received a copy of the intergovernmental agreement at this time. If this board approves this change, I will present this change to the Board of Commissioners at the October 16th meeting to accept the change as well as sign the intergovernmental agreement between Douglas County Board of Commissioners and the Douglas County School Board.
May I have a motion from one?
We'll do a vote after the office operations report to accept the change.
Okay, very good.
The next Board of Office Operations report, Mr. Smith.
Logic and accuracy testing began on Wednesday, October 4th. We have completed this process with the election equipment, including the EMS server, BMDs, tabulators used for absentee by mail, advanced voting, and election day. We have been in frequent communication with No Ink, the vendor that manages the electronic poll books used during in-person voting, to receive the voter file. We will complete this by week's end in time for early voting on Monday, October 16th.
Let me add to that. I have been in communication because I'm dissatisfied with the time frame by which we are receiving the voter file from a vendor that we are required to use based off of the state. This is to the state elections director as well as the host company with why are we just now approaching Thursday before the beginning of advanced in person, still waiting on a voter file. No Ink did email back a communication to which the state elections director is attached to this, stating that they just received some of the critical data that they needed from the state itself on today.
Will this affect Douglas County being ready to have?
We will still be ready. We're required by law to use the poll pads. We also have backup features in place if that particular voting method is not ready. But as far as we are concerned, we will still continue voting on October 16th, starting at 8:30 a.m. Douglas County will be ready.
Any other questions from the board members? Okay, thank you.
The next part of office operations report is Ms. Ann Boleyn.
Thank you. We have completed poll worker training and all of our precincts are staffed. The precincts are ready to go on election day and for early voting. We're ready.
Great, thanks.
Good job.
Ms. Heather James.
Absentee ballot mail-out begins on Monday, October 16th. This is the first day we can mail out, and all applications we have received and accepted before this point will be mailed out on that first day. Advance voting also begins the same day here at the Douglas County Courthouse. Voters that reside in either the city of Douglasville or Villa Rica may come to the courthouse between 8:30 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. Monday through Friday from October 16th until November 3rd, with Saturday voting from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on both October 21st and October 28th.
One of our voter outreach coordinators have worked with all senior services in the county to assist with voter registration activities and absentee ballot applications prior to the voter registration deadline, which was October the 10th.
Follow up with that one last thing too. We maintain as a county a backup database of our voter file, to which even if the state's equipment wasn't ready, we would still be voting.
Is that about things for?
It would not be by paper. What we're the poll pad is essentially how you look up voters and give them credit. We use a secondary company that houses our voter file as well, so that we can track who gets ballot called Easy Vote as well. So that piece is ready. We would just have to manually turn on each of the individual ballots, which we have the capacity to do that for the voters. I just would not want to go there if we did not have to. So that is a redundancy that's in place.
Yes, you said easy ballot?
Easy Vote.
Easy vote. And does that work similar as a poll pad where you put your license in front and they check, or?
Yes, everyone is still required to present their information. So the way it works is they would present their ID at the first station. We would look them up and access our voter file and verify the information that is on their license. They still will be presented with, because this is advanced in person, you have to administer the voter's oath. So they will still print the voter's oath and allow them to verify their information and sign the voter's oath that way as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Director Peter, of Office Operations.
This concludes Office Operations report. Now you all are free to entertain a motion to have me present the intergovernmental agreement to the Board of Commissioners.
Okay, I got a motion by Kevin.
So I just wanted to ask a couple questions before I do. So this is going from First of Chapel Hill to which school?
Chapel Hill High School.
Chapel Hill, okay, yes. Thank you.
So it's been properly moved in second. That's
All right.
Motion has been properly moved in second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you very much.
Okay, so on the 16th, I will be presenting at the work session for the Board of Commissioners. Following that, on that Tuesday, I will present at the regular board meeting. The intergovernmental agreement has been drafted by our legal counsel and vetted by them too. It's a standard intergovernmental agreement between two government entities.
All right, thank you very much. Director King, do we have any old business?
We have one old business that was previously tabled at the last meeting. And it is your intention to discuss that and to vote on that. You all will take a motion to remove from the table the previous discussion for deceased voters.
Okay. And during the last meeting, we did have a conversation about deceased voters in the process of how deceased voters are notified and removed from the rolls. Since we do not have all of our board members here, I would like to ask the board members if we can table that until we get all 5 board members.
Yeah, I would, if I may speak into that, I'm okay with tabling it. As just a general conversation overarching, the odd years are kind of our opportunity to clean up voter rolls, and we're doing that now, when it was announced last week. And I would like to kind of get an update on the date that all that's going to come through as far as the NGE and all of the things that the state has sent out, when we'll have that back and go through it. And, I'm thinking maybe we could look at it after we go through this process to see, just let me finish, please. I'd like to see if we could go through the process after that. You guys have gone through and cleaned up the voter rolls to see if there are dormants that are still on there, because what I have found is that there are some deceased voters that obviously slipped through the cracks from vital statistics, some being here in Georgia, some being out of state, which makes sense. And then there's some that slipped through the cracks of the NGE, where you have people that are active that are older than 5 years, and you have people that are inactive over 8 years. And so I would like to look at that after this whole thing, so that hopefully that what's going on now with the state will take care of that. But I'm not sure that
one second with that one. Okay, so you're essentially, it's 2 things, and the reason why I said that is you all don't have to vote to untable this, but let's just establish that this is a new conversation and not the tabled item, because if you're not voting to untable that item, that's a separate. So this is the new discussion.
The tabled item was, would we vote to have a hearing on the 7 or 8 different people that are likely deceased and still active in our voter rolls, okay? That I don't have a problem telling, because you're telling me that that's working through the system, okay? That's going to be taken care of with the way the state is handling the process. Where we mail out these things, when they come back in, if it's over two election cycles, they automatically get canceled. If it's over 5, the active go to inactive until it gets to the 8 years, is my understanding from our last meeting. And so while we're in this process during the odd year, I'm okay with tabling this one to see if these go off actually go through the process. But my concern is that there are dormant people that are registered that get slipped through the cracks. And so I think our job for this new book right here is to take care of that. As board members, we have the authority to do that. Citizens of the county that are registered to vote can challenge anybody that's on there that's dormant. So, and then we as a board unanimously made and agreed to a process and procedure just a few months ago to deal with these challenges. And so I would not want to go outside of our process and policy that we all voted on to say this is how we're going to handle it. My personal opinion is that we should go to our policy and follow our policy. We paid our attorney to come up with this policy on how to deal with these challenged voters, being deceased or any other challenge. We have a process, and my hope was what I brought last time was that we could try the policy out and see how it works. I'm new to the game, so I'm the youngest of all of the board members here in terms of time on the board, and I wanted to see if our new policy worked, and that was the opportunity. So not trying to just put anything on our staff. I don't want to overwork anybody, but sometimes we have to do things that are uncomfortable when it says to do it in the book. And so I am willing to table it, but I want to come back to it after this process goes through. And Tisha, made it very clear in the last meeting how many of those got sent out, and that some of those that were in that list were on that. So I want to see if it just works, and that's fine. But the ones that don't, I still want to address. So our job is to clean up the voter rolls, in my opinion. And I think this is a conversation that's worth having, particularly in an off-election year.
Okay, my question to legal counsel is, technically, this is a new discussion and he's not addressing the table. Do we have to do anything to continue this new discussion, or?
Sorry, could you say that one more time? I'm trying to pick up on the question there.
I said, my question is, the board wants to discuss possible options, but the possible options are not tied to the 7 individuals from the last meeting. So does this just become a new conversation?
Wait a minute, he
And
wanted
we
to table that until the other board members got here, but.
Well, he wouldn't have to table because it's already tabled. You have to vote to untable.
Until the other board members are here, but that.
I was going to concur on sort of what you just said there, that it would have to be voted to be untabled. It hasn't been. So if you're starting a new conversation, then you can do that. But sorry, does that answer it?
Yes. But essentially, this is just a new conversation. We're not addressing these 7 individuals because we didn't vote to untable that one. So that just remains
You
tabled.
can just leave that table.
Leave the table, but after all the board members come back, then we want to look to see if those initial 7 members, if everything flushes them out through the process that's in place from the state right now, to make sure that that takes place and then take a look at it. I think that's what you're doing.
That's exactly what I'm saying. So I'm okay with leaving it table. And I was told last meeting that these individuals are going through the process, or most of it, didn't say all, said most, are going through in the minutes. Most are going through the process. So that means some didn't. And so I want to see kind of how it shakes out so that we don't have dormant people slipping through the cracks, so that our system is working, the state is doing its thing, but as a board, we have the authority to take care of the things that don't get handled by the state and these mail outs that we've done. So when do we expect these to be fully? I think, it didn't give us exact timeframes on all of those and when they'd be back. It kind of said soon we'll have this done. So do we have any particular dates when we'll have everything back that we can start moving them either from active to inactive or inactive to canceled, depending on how they're responded to?
What you can say?
We have one more mail out that's going out in December. We haven't gotten a date. I don't have a list of all the mail outs we've done this year. I know some of them are still on the clock. They haven't finalized yet. By the next board meeting, some of those would have been finalized, but we have another mail out that's taking place that the state notified us of. In December, they haven't narrowed down the date yet, but it's going to be before the 90-day federal deadline before we can we can't go in and alter anything. So that mail out will take place so that it will fall before that federal deadline. So that'll be sometime in December, and they're supposed to notify us within the next couple of weeks is what it says, that how many it's going to be and what date they'll be released on. So there will be another major mail out before the end of the year.
Okay. And then back to our tabled item, 7 is probably the tip of the iceberg of what's out there in terms of dormancy. So because you saw the thousands that went out of these mailers. So hopefully most of this will take care of itself. However, now that we have the policy and the ones that we have on the table, we can vote to at least do one hearing and see how it works to see the procedure. I know that is not the popular thing to do, but it is what the book says we should do at some point. So our authority is to handle that. The citizens of the county have the authority to bring a challenge to us, the voters, whether they're allowed to be on the roll, that we have to then make a discernment as a board whether that is going to carry or they're going to stay or go.
Sure.
And so that is something that I'm not familiar with doing, and I'd sure like to give it a test run, if that makes sense. And I chose a deceased person purposely just so it would be benign, if that makes sense.
Now, Jonathan, question. I know that you all, this is Jonathan Nussbaum. Jonathan Nussbaum is part of our legal counsel. He represents the county with Thompson Hines. Miss Leslie Suzanne is out sick. So Jonathan has been working on these issues with her. So he's familiar with the subject matter. But my question to Jonathan is, I know that you all have been doing some research as to what exactly the board can do in these particular situations. Are we able to go into that in an open meeting, or?
Yes, a good bit of it is sort of discussing policy of the board, and there's no threatened litigation, so we can talk about it.
If you can give the board a synopsis of what you all have been seeing around that.
Well, so I just want to make sure, and sorry, the procedural question was a little muddled before, to clarify. So this is not a discussion of what was happening at the last meeting that was tabled. This is a separate topic. Is that correct?
That's what I'm asking. The board has indicated that this is a separate topic. Because I know what you're finna ask, that they have to vote to untable if this is the same topic, but they're addressing this as a new topic.
Right. So if this is a new topic and not the 7 individuals who were mentioned at the previous meeting, what was the question? Just sort of generally, what have we found?
Yes.
In general, there is a statewide procedure that I think y'all were just talking about, where each county's vital registrar will forward names of deceased individuals to the state, and then they will remove the names of deceased individuals from the voter rolls. There are also, as we talked about, generally the procedures for holding hearings for anyone whose presence on the voter rolls is called into question either by a citizen or by the board, and I believe we've laid out for the board before in some memos exactly what those procedures are. Other than that, there are not additional procedures in the law for a county board of elections to follow, and so the board should be sticking with the procedures that are specifically laid out in the law, rather than trying other procedures, I would say.
Okay, can I ask a question?
Certainly.
And this is more for staff. Since we've gone into Jarvis, have we received any vital statistics since February of this year?
Yes, but have they been consistent? No.
Okay, so that kind of brings me to why I'm doing this, because there are things slipping through the cracks from the state level to the county level. And so again, I think I'm just wanting to see how the state thing goes with the new system. And I know there's bugs they're working out. I'm gonna say that's my words. I don't know exactly how all the process works from the state, on the computer with the new system. I don't have access to it. I've asked for it and don't have it. But so I'm relying on the staff to tell me this. And so they've told me that they don't have consistent communication from our state in terms of vital statistics. So that just tells me that there are things out there that will normally just get canceled, because once somebody's deceased, that's an immediate, we cancel them. So that means instead of them being canceled, they go into this 8-year cycle of just remaining on our rolls. And my opinion is that's just not acceptable. I think we need to do better in either helping the state and understanding why this process is not working, or do some things on our own as the authority of the board, which we have, in 228, 21-2, 228, 21-2, 229, and 21-2, 230, to be able to deal with challenged voters. And we have a policy now that was just voted upon, where our attorneys just made that policy. We all voted 5-0 on how that we were going to implement this. And so I think that there may be a justifiable reason why we need to do this as a board, whether it be uncomfortable or not.
John, can I ask some clarifying questions? The information that you all reviewed, I know previously, not tied to the 7 individuals, but just in general, the board was trying to see if it had the statutory authority to delete a voter that it identified, not tied to those individuals, but just in general. Can you speak on the statutory authority of what you all found in doing your research as the board's option of anybody that it potentially identifies? Not a voter challenge. I'm not speaking on that, but outside of a standard voter challenge.
Certainly. So there, other than, it's basically 3 systems. So one is somewhat outside of the board's control, because that's the county registrar of vital statistics working with the Secretary of State's office. That's sort of one normal process. The second, which you've mentioned, is the kind of voter challenge, an individual voter challenge, either brought by the board or an individual voter. There is a specific third one, and if you'll forgive me just a moment, because I'm pulling my notes. I want to make sure I get the right statutory citation. Just a moment. Under OCGA 21-231, there is a process that could be used if the board gets information about persons who have died from certain verified sources, such as a written signed, something signed by a family member of the deceased person, or verified death certificates, or certain things like that. And there's some other sources mentioned in that statute, and there is a specific procedure laid out there as well. And I believe we've included that in memos. I don't know if they've all been circulated yet, but in information we've been sending to the board.
Right, and then last time when the attorney was here, I asked her if we had the authority to ask, the people over the vital statistics, if we're not getting them through the Jarvis system, do we have the authority to ask for that particular document so that we can take care of the roles instead of waiting for the 8 years to pass in doing this? And then that was just one question, because there's many different ways that we can go about to get the documents. We can have the hearing and, all that kind of stuff. Having the vital statistic just makes it easy button for us on the particular the deceased situation.
That's one I might need to get back to you on, about ability to go to the county register of vital statistics to find out. Let me look into that first. I don't want to speak without being certain on it.
That's a document that easily everybody can say is a verifiable document, and that they can go from whatever status they are to cancel because they're deceased and no longer able to vote. And so they would not need to be on the register anymore. So that was a question from last meeting. I was just hoping to hear it back.
Understood. Let us look into that. We'll follow up with an answer.
Okay. I think that covers that. The only other thing I wanted to say was, thank you for giving me the opportunity to share about this. and my passion for being on this board. You know, I think we want to make sure we're making sure that the register is accurate as best we can. I think that's part of what exactly the law says. And, you know, as far as hearings and logistics of that, you know, I think we could work through those details where they were certainly mailed out in enough time, and those, you know, those could be held in a time that's, you know, amenable to everyone, particularly with one of our regular monthly meetings. And, you know, in a deceased person, most cases, it's not going to be challenged or, again, that's why I said I'd start with that, because it just is a benign hearing, if you will. But I really think we're not going to get a lot of people coming to those particular hearings. And so then it becomes, if they don't come, what's the next step? And so, you know, that's just one data point of, hey, they didn't show up, or we got to return. You know, if we send it out with forwarding mail and make sure that when we mail it out, it gets forwarded to any addresses they might have moved to, you know, is that enough to get them off the road? You know, we have data points. We might have an obituary, we might have some other document, then we send it out, no reply, or we get a reply and they tell us, yes, this is, you know, my parents or whatever, and they're deceased. You know, hopefully we could take care of that. If we're not getting what we need from the state and that process isn't working, I'm looking for a conversation of how we deal with that and amongst the board and amongst the staff. And I think that covers what I wanted to say today, and I appreciate y'all giving me.
What we can do between now and the next meeting is we can sync up with the office to find out, you know, these are the things that went out specifically. These are the responses we got back, and then get that information and say, okay, based on the timelines, based on the rules and regulations, these individuals have been removed. They're still in the process. We're getting to that point of final finish with some still working with dozens. And then I know you provided specific individuals, and so we just have to see what the state's process is for that. So
yes, and we'll come back to those table ones, because I presented ones that were legitimate, that had been checked and found that we have obituary, and then checked that they are active in our voter roll. So, you know, and again, I think there's a way to handle it if it's not being done and things slip through. I would just implore us all to, you know, this is something that we should all strive to make sure our registers are accurate as best as we can.
Does anybody else have any other follow-ups?
From the staff's perspective, we take directives from the board, so
Okay.
how you all vote.
Okay, got it. Understood. Okay.
But as legal counsel, and it's hard to always in two different formats, because we didn't vote to untable that one, so we can't go all the way into this discussion, but we have no objections.
Okay.
Yeah, and if I'm okay tabling until y'all want to have everybody here to vote, and you know, if that's the way they want to go, it's fine. So I'm okay with that.
Okay. Any other comments before we move on to our next item? All right, thank you all. So we do need to direct the hearing. Are we at the point where we can vote to approve the change of the
Yes.
polling place? Right, so I'd like to entertain a motion from the board to vote to move the polling place to Chapel Hill High School. So we're moving it from Chapel Hill Church, yes, to Chapel Hill High School.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion to
Second.
and it's been properly seconded, so we have a
For
motion
the
to
2024 presidential election year.
for the 2024,
Starting in March.
2024 presidential election, starting in March. Thank you for the clarification. Okay, so all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None? So thank you very much. That item has passed. Derek, do we have any new business?
We have no new business to bring before this board at this time.
All right, do we have any member concerns?
no concerns, but certainly appreciation for y'all and what you're doing and keeping this up. And we're coming up on an election here. You know, let us know if you need support in any way, what we can do, certainly during the elections. And, you know, we're here to support y'all. So thank you for your hard work.
I just wanted to keep our Madam Chair lifted in prayer as she recovers.
Absolutely. And we appreciate the board. I mean, the staff of the board of the elections office. You all do a lot with what you have. You make voting in Douglas County easy. I'll just put it that way. You make it very easy, and you make it where it is fair and equitable to everyone that comes out. So thank you for the hard work that you all do, and we definitely appreciate all your efforts that you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, if we don't have any more board member concerns, our next regular board meeting is going to be Thursday, November 9th, 2023 at 5 p.m. And we will adjourn this board at 5:35. Thank you very much.